Alright guys, Tetrabit here again today, and yesterday the leak happened, but we have to talk about this OpTic gaming situation because this has come out over the last day or two really. I could have made a video maybe touching on it yesterday, but there's a lot of news here today, and well, a lot of reports online. We don't really know how it's going. It's pretty crazy, the kind of stuff that's coming out over the last day or two, considering it was only a week ago we were talking about looking at OpTic and thinking, oh, you know, when they get this franchise spot, are they going to be still called OpTic Gaming? Are they going to be, are they going to be able to manufacture the green wall into their name? At this point, it seems possible that this organization as a whole will not exist in a few weeks' time. And that is a remarkable turn of events. I'm not sure whether it's true yet, but there's a lot of rumours and there's a lot of reports from in and around the scene that tend to imply that that's how it's going. So let's go through it all today. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, and we'll go through what we know so far. So back in January, ESPN revealed that there was a bid put out, or that Texas Esports, who own Infinite Esports, who own all the OpTic brands, Texas Esports put out Infinite Esports for sale, and it seems like there's been a lot of interest from different companies in buying the Infinite Esports organization. Now, this is obviously rumoured to be Immortals, which we've talked about a little bit before, and of course, if you were watching the league last night, that was, all the rage in the Twitch chat about, oh damn, this Immortals team's looking pretty good when OpTic were playing Reciprocity. Maybe we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But yeah, so Immortals has supposedly been in the bidding war to get this OpTic gaming organization in general, but it's not just the CoD team, keep in mind. It is the LCS spot that OpTic Gaming have, it is the CSGO team, and it's the CoD team and the Gears of War team and all the content creators and all those guys associated. But supposedly Immortals are most interested in the LCS spot, the League of Legends spot, which will be rebranded under Immortals. Now, of course, they have the Overwatch team, which I didn't mention, the Houston Outlaws. Now, what will happen with them, we don't know. Whether Immortals want to sell them off to some other organization, possibly true. And if they do that for Overwatch, how much interest do we think Immortals necessarily have in Call of Duty? Very possible they might do the same thing and sell off this OpTic Gaming brand to somebody else in the meantime of franchising. We're going to go through some stuff here. Okay, so this is a fantastic article by Adam Fitch. I'd recommend you check it out on the Esports Insider. Just going to whiz through it right here, really. So, sources. Immortals close to purchasing Infinite Esports and Entertainment. This came out one day ago on May the 14th. So, yes. The company's interest, Immortals, in acquiring Infinite Esports and Entertainment, which houses OpTic Gaming, OpTic League of Legends, and Houston Outlaws, as well as all the other things, was first reported on May the 3rd by ESPN. On May 1st, Immortals Gaming Club rebranded as Immortals LLC following a funding round that amounted to 30 million. So, down the article, there's a lot of things to talk about here. Texas Esports, which is the majority owner of Infinite, has set the deadline for May 31st, according to sources. It is considering selling the company to Immortals for substantially less than the initially reported amount of 150 million by this date, even if it means degrading the OpTic Gaming brand. So, there's some more stuff on this. I think this Esports Insider, what their overall opinion is quite telling here. If this deal does indeed go through, we find it hard to see how OpTic Gaming will still exist. If its LCS team would be rebranded, Immortals owns MIBR, which is very true because in the CSGO scene, of course, OpTic has a Danish CSGO team right now, and MIBR is Immortals' CSGO team. So they would have to sell off the CSGO team, and if they're going to do that, Call of Duty franchising anyway means that OpTic Gaming wouldn't exist in Call of Duty. So are they really interested in keeping Call of Duty OpTic Gaming around for the rest of the season, when it's not really what they're looking for to be profitable, when they're focusing mainly on the LCS spot if you are Immortals right now? And this really came out of nowhere. A lot of people are putting, are talking about Hector and Hector Rodriguez, of course, because, and there is fair reason to do so because, supposedly he's been apologizing to his content creators. We can go into them in a second here. But a lot of other organizations that did a similar thing to what Hex did, where he sold OpTic Gaming to Infinite, this, new round of investors, but Hastro did the same thing with Envy, but he still has great controls. Cloud9, Jack Etienne, similar sort of thing. So moving onwards, we have this from Kevin Hitt, and I'm going to go through one of his articles here in just a second because This tweet: the entire situation with Immortals, OpTic Gaming and the winning bid is a joke. Better offers have been made and rebuffed because of personal vendettas. And supposedly this refers to Hector and Infinite, some guy at Infinite called Chris Cheney. Okay, so this is the post here. Executives from Immortals, OpTic Gaming and Infinite will meet Wednesday in an effort to gauge whether OpTic CEO Hector Rodriguez has any interest in joining Immortals if the company acquired Infinite Esports and their Call of Duty team. Now look, Infinite's sale has come down to 2 final groups, which effectively means OpTic Gaming's sale, with the Immortals Gaming Company and a group led by Hector, Hex Rodriguez, and the co-founder and former president of Infinite, Chris Cheney. Reports surfaced earlier today that the Immortals Gaming Company likely has an upper hand in the acquisition, which would leave Rodriguez and Cheney's group out as owners. Now supposedly this is because there is some sort of animosity, some sort of like grudges being held against Chris and, well, Hector especially, by the Infinite, the Infinite Esports guys, which means they're favouring, Immortals. They don't want to really let Hector get back control, I guess, of OpTic Gaming. But, these are all rumours as of now. Nothing has been officially confirmed, but a lot of people have been saying things along these lines. So yeah, Immortals wants Rodriguez to reprise his CEO of the OpTic brand. He would still run the brand's day-to-day operations, the Call of Duty franchise, and possibly retain other responsibilities by potentially joining Immortals if it was to be bought here. So the most likely scenario is Immortals wins the bidding process and sells the Houston Outlaws, since the group already has Los Angeles Valiant in their portfolio. Of course, I didn't mention that earlier in the video. No ownership group is allowed to have ownership in 2 separate Overwatch League teams. Similar thing to the CSGO for sure. So they'd have to sell off a couple of teams. Why would they not sell off the Call of Duty team if that was the case? So yeah, finally, Cheney and Rodriguez could go off on their own. Even if Immortals offered one of them a position in the company, they could then put in a bid for and would likely receive a slot in the newly franchised Call of Duty League. So this is another option people have been talking about. Maybe Hex goes away, forms a new organization, and then comes into the COD League, but I don't know how likely that is. So of course, the COD burner chimed in with some information. He talks briefly about how Activision has been trying to do something, taking down some of the images he's put up about the franchising league, but we'll leave that for now. Team sales and relocation. So this is talking about next year, just slightly off topic here, but I thought you guys would find it interesting. The league controls rights to sell expansion slots until the league sells 28 teams. Currently, there's only going to be 12 this season, so they're looking long-term. 28 teams in a league will share 10% of net profits received from expansion with the current teams. After the league reaches 28 teams, the league will share 20% of net profits received from expansion with the current teams. The team owners will vote on expansion past 28 teams. The teams will pay to the league a fee based on any transfer of ownership. The fee will be 10% of the amount of which the transfer amount exceeds the amount paid in the prior transfer event. Whatever. This is the important bit right at the bottom here. Also, I heard OpTic is for sure sold and the content guides are being released unless they want to take a pay cut. Supposedly, Hex told the team he's sorry and wishes he picks a different investor because he can't do anything about it. The news is supposed to be this weekend and the COD team will be sold to a different organization before Anaheim. And of course, I can't verify the validity of this, but this is truly remarkable if London is the last event we ever see of this OpTic team under the OpTic Gaming branding. It's going to be crazy because, of course, as we saw, if Texas have set a deadline of the 31st of May, it's got to be sorted by then. So by the time Anaheim comes around on, the 14th of June, I think, unlikely that they would still be under the OpTic Gaming organization or the OpTic Gaming branding unless Immortals decided to keep the OpTic branding for the rest of the season. But even then, their profit, it's probably such a small percentage of what their profitability would be that even keeping OpTic as a brand for the viewership, etc., probably isn't going to help them overly much. So yeah, this is truly remarkable stuff. There's also some comments on this article. Dragon Master 784, those of you guys who may be familiar with the OpTic Gaming subreddit, supposedly he's like the COD burner of OpTic Gaming or something like that. So, well, he replies, can confirm, damn, the team I knew out is for sure gone. Is there literal zero chance that Hex and Chris Cheney bid, which is what we were talking about earlier? I'm hearing from industry insiders and players that they've been told what COD Burner has posted. No idea on chance that Hex gets back, but I would go ahead and not hope any longer. And, you know, there's another comment here from the FX, and he replies, Hex and Chris Journey threw their horse in the infinite race, which is what we just read from Kevin Hitt here, bid considerably more from Immortals, yet they're not being given the time of day due to a higher up at Infinite's personal bias against Hex. Now, I can't say if that's true or not. Someone replies saying this is almost sort of right, but, you know, what does that mean? Now, I thought it'd definitely be worth saying that Malik, or I don't actually know how you're meant to pronounce this, but this guy is Senior Vice President of Operations at Infinite Esports and Entertainment, and he was saying some things in the OpTic Gaming Reddit, I think, talking about, well, the potential of this and where it's going, and how Codburner and Dragon Master, is that what he's called? Yeah, Dragon Master, aren't necessarily saying the correct things. So he says here, and for what it's worth, unless I'm being completely blindsided, both CSGO will continue playing, CoD will continue playing, LCS will continue playing, all as OpTic. So, I don't know, maybe, we're getting contradictory accounts here. This guy obviously is within the organisation, so I guess you take his word as more relevant than the others, I guess. And he also replies this, as of right now, and anyways, I'm sure most of the actual reality will be known in due time, but now is not that time. Nobody knows what the outcome is. That's pretty much all I wanted to say really on the OpTic Gaming situation today. It's a crazy situation. I'm sure you'll leave your thoughts in the comments below, but it does seem likely at the current time that maybe OpTic Gaming will not be around in a very short period of time, which is crazy. I don't know who you're going to blame or whatever. I don't know if you guys, if you're a hardcore OpTic fan, would you still watch if the team moves to another organisation? Because I'm sure a lot of people who are fans of Call of Duty would, but as an organisation, the kind of movement of players or movement of fans even around different esports under the OpTic Gaming brands wouldn't happen as much. This is going to be a crazy change to Call of Duty. With franchising around the corner, it was already crazy, and now we've got this on our hands. It's interesting to say the least. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Let's move on to the league real quick. So I just want to whiz through the league here. Evil Geniuses versus UYU. Map 1 was incredibly close. Map 2 also incredibly close. And then Evil Geniuses turned on the Wrecking Ball and took over the series. Phantoms went off, 70 kills. 1.6 KD with an ICR in hand. Exotic did, an unbelievable performance as well. And yeah, UYU still not looking good by any means. Methods had a good map where you got a little bit of streaking going on. But apart from that, UYU still looking pretty woeful. Series 2 of the day was Genji versus Midnight. This was interesting because map number 1 had to be replayed because I think Parasite had some controller issue when they were basically about to lose the game, I think. It was like 220, 230, but Genji had control of the Fountain Hill on Seaside, so they were basically going to close out the game, it did seem. But anyway, they had some controller issue, had to do a complete replay, and yeah, Genji ended up winning it anyway, 250 to 172. The game 2 was close in the Search and Destroy. Midnight honestly looking relatively decent. And then, yeah, game 3 was a complete blowout in that control. Look at the KDs in this control. Just absolutely tragic. Only Saints was the one putting up a performance there. But, yeah, Maniac had a 4 KD in the control. Like, what more can you ask? So, pretty comfortable series from Genji, as a lot of us expected. Then we had OpTic Gaming, and they beat Reciprocity here. The first 2 maps are relatively comfortable. The first map was very comfortable indeed, actually. I think they were just going off. Like, there was TJ and Scump especially just dominating. Game 2 was relatively close, a bit back and forth. Game 3, Reciprocity got the better of them on Arsenal, sorry. It was honestly just Dylan just dominating. Dylan went off this series, and the rest of his team just couldn't get anything going at all. Like this Game 4, the fact that OpTic won this is criminal, because Dylan was 41 in 31. That's pure kills. Probably had like upwards of, 55 EKIA that map, which is crazy stuff. Don't know exactly the damage scores, but with the SMG, he was going off, considering the rest of his team just couldn't put anything together. So a bit unfortunate for Reciprocity and Dylan especially, because 95 kills to lose a series is Hook level stuff from earlier this season. So yeah, and then the final match of the day was FaZe LG, of course, the big rematch from the CDBL London event, where, of course, LG won controversially. They won 3-2, but FaZe technically won the control, and in a glitch that has since been fixed. We talked about that at the time. This was unbelievably comfortable. Map 1 a little bit close, but FaZe, I always thought they would get the better of it down the stretch. It always felt like they were getting the better of the rotations, even though LG would get enough scrap time to keep them in the game. Game 2 on Hacienda was not close by any means. Gunless really needs to go off on that map, I feel like, for LG to win. Whenever I see LG winning that map, Gunless is going like 12-1. This game he goes like 4-9 or something. And then, yeah, Game 3, unbelievably comfortable. When LG turn up in the league, they're a completely different team. Absolutely tragic, to be honest. And FaZe look very, very good, though. I don't want to take anything away from FaZe. FaZe versus OpTic tomorrow is going to be exciting. Probably, or tonight even, probably favouring OpTic slightly just because, you know, I don't really know how good FaZe are quite yet, because beating LG and beating UYU isn't too impressive for me in the league, even though the fashion they did was impressive. I feel like their series against OpTic will be close and pretty fun. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it, and I will see you next time.